Welcome to Dance to Heal. I'm your host, Jenny C. Cohen. Join me as I share stories of how dance and movement can bring healing in a way that is safe and tailored to your life. I'm a cancer survivor, mother of two, and an award-winning performer who found that movement was vital to my recovery. I created Dance to Heal Wellness and also authored the best-selling book, Outside in Recovery, Dancing My Way Back to Myself After Breast Cancer. I will bring new techniques to help you on your dance journey and healing path. Are you ready to move? Dance to Heal starts now. Dr. Lynn Carey loves empowering others to create their desired life of health, wealth, and perfect self-expression. For 18 plus years, she served her clients in the realms of nutrition and chiropractic. Today, Dr. Lynn works with her clients to create their ideal, desired life. I am so excited that you're here, Lynn. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Jenny. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's get right started because we are in a situation where it's very hard to sometimes focus on ourselves. And yet I love the fact that you really focus on that you have to self-heal before you can make any changes in the world. What are some struggles that you've faced in your healing journey?
Yeah, it started, it's definitely healing as a personal journey for me. I started when I was a teenager. I was diagnosed with scoliosis, which is curvature of the spine, ended up having Harrington rod surgery for it. And the surgery itself, I was told, was a success, but it left me sick and in pain for years. And I never had symptoms prior to the surgery. It's just that my spine was so crooked that they didn't want it to go more. I didn't want to wear this brace they told me to and all this. So I just followed what the medical world said. And they just didn't have an answer for me all those years. I would always have something where I needed an antibiotic or a painkiller, it was pain or like a strep throat. I always had something on and off, and I just didn't feel right. And I was very depressed. And I was in college trying to find myself, and someone told me to look into chiropractic. And it was the first time I heard truth. It said the power that made the body heals the body. It was on the pamphlet. And I just went to chiropractic school on that philosophy, didn't even get adjusted until I got there. And that really was the beginning of my journey to a whole different way of looking at the body and healing.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I mean, I'm a personal proponent of it because being an occupational therapist, oftentimes if a person's bony structure is not in alignment, it doesn't really matter what you do. You're building on top of misalignment. And I just love that because truly that is the epitome of how you have to heal self before you can make any outward ripples in the world. So in terms of this, you talked about how you became a chiropractor. How does that help you now with your clients?
So what happened for me is it was very, it started out with the very physical component. Like I would get my spine adjusted so the brain-body communication, which is the nervous system, is housed through the spine, right? Your nerves exit through the spine. That was the whole point of keeping the spine clear and in motion by doing an adjustment. But what happened it became very energetic for me, especially during practice. So my own healing journey was a process, and then I got into practice and I just really got into the energy side of it. I knew I'm like, there's something bigger going on here with the body that we don't understand. I mean, the philosophy of chiropractic already recognizes that there is an inner wisdom. We called it innate intelligence that is running the body, right? And it's doing all of these millions of functions every second. We're not consciously doing it. I mean, we can't even try to, beat our heart, breathe our lungs, do the kidneys work all at the same time and live our lives. Like there's no way, right? But we take this for granted that this is already happening. But if you really look at that, you see how dynamic the body is. So I realized there's so much energy going on here. But what I wanted to know is I could adjust someone all day long, but I'm like, well, why are they going out of alignment? Why do some people heal? Why do some people don't or keep repeating these chronic patterns? And I realized, the alignment is really an inside job. It's how you're flowing your energy in your life. And I started to apply it to myself. I started to see the patterns in other people. It's like, how happy are you? How purposeful is your life? What's your lifestyle? And I'm not just talking about diet and exercise, but really like the day in and day out. Like, are you stressed at a job you hate? Are you in a relationship that's stressing you out? Because this is how you're flowing your energy. And people don't always connect the dots. Like how you're flowing your energy in your life, if you're not dealing with it, right? The mental, emotional causes, it's going to come out as physical symptoms. And so that was really making that connection between those two things.
Bingo. Bingo right there, audience. If you were watching on YouTube, you saw me nodding like up and down. Yes, yes, Dr. Lynn. And for those of you on the podcast listening, please hear this from my heart. Dr. Lynn expressed exactly the conclusion I come to in even my cancer healing journey. There was no history of breast cancer in my family. Nothing. The only indicator was the amount of stress in my life. From my childhood, I never had any indication I had to heal. And then the current lifestyle I was living prior to the breast cancer diagnosis, when I found that lump, other than the stress of the behind the scenes with my husband going in for emergency surgery and my son having diagnosed with type 1, so I hadn't slept more than 4 hours in 5 years under the fear he might die in his sleep. Other than that, really, I was at the height of my health. I had been vegan. I had lost weight. I was super strong. I literally looked like before I had my twins, who were then 14. I was strong, and I still came down with cancer, Lynn. And it was part of this history of healing and then tracing back to trauma from when I was a baby that I can really, truly say, whoa, I have a really good chance, strong chance of my cancer not coming back.
Good for you for connecting all those dots, because that's the most important part. And that's why I like to empower people. Become your own best doctor. And I'm not saying that you don't go see a doctor, but question what they say and find out other sources of different viewpoints. And then really become self-aware of your life and all the intricate details. So many people would come in and say, well, this pain just showed up. And I would say, well, you're under more stress. And they'd be like, no. But then they would tell me about their day. And I was like stressed out hearing about it. But that became so normal. And they wouldn't think that that's causing their physical. I saw the disconnect. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm not connecting that's causing the other. So, and can I share something? My father died when I was 12 from cancer. And the man, and you know something? I wouldn't even say that the cancer killed him. I don't like labels anymore because I think we're missing the bigger picture. The cancer, like a label like cancer, becomes so scary. But if we break it down to the energetics of what's going on, it empowers you to not be stuck in the fear of a label so you could do something and not. But my father, when I came into the world, he had lost a lot of businesses. He was an entrepreneur at heart. And for a man, I think that's even harder. I know I've had my own struggles in the entrepreneurial world. And when you don't have someone to confide in, I know his family, my mom, were not emotionally supportive to that kind of journey. They just worked hard, and that's a different kind of mindset than an entrepreneur who has a creative spirit and wants to do something bigger. And I know that slowly killed him because by the time I was 5, we lost the house. He lost it a lot. He had to go to a job where he worked at night that he was not, and he slept all day. Now, he smoked. He did not have a healthy diet. I'm not saying that they weren't contributing factors, but I know the ultimate factor was a broken heart. Like, he lost his dreams. And the pressure of taking care of a family and not living your dreams and living this rat race life, I know that's why it ended up in cancer. He was diagnosed, and within 9 months, he was gone. And I saw how the treatments and what it did to him deteriorated him so badly that I was 12 and his legs became smaller than mine. And he didn't know who I was at the end. And I thought, something's not right here. And I just remember that as a kid, this was prior to my diagnosis, which I think everything leads to the next. Like, even scoliosis, my spine goes in 2 directions, like an S-shaped curve. You're being pulled in 2 directions. I knew as a child, I did not want what I was being shown life was. I'm like, there has to be more to life than what I'm seeing. I just see people who are working all the time. There's not enough. There's no happiness. and nobody's questioning it. And I'm like, am I the only one? And so I felt one thing, but society was telling me another and pulled in two directions besides what I saw with my father. Like, I really didn't want to be here because I thought he went to heaven. He went to a better place. I think he left me here in hell. Like that's how I really felt. So I believe that contributed even to the formation of the scoliosis in my life and the journey. So it's layered. It's really layered. And so that was a huge awakening for me.
It's layered when it could have been different, right? If society just understood some of these things, we have to do. So this is this balancing act I felt, because people that I work with, my clients, are like, well, you keep talking about community and then you keep saying how I have to heal myself. And I'm like, yes, because it's both. How would you have known if you hadn't found me? How would anyone have known if they didn't listen to you, Dr. Lynn, right now, that it's a multi-layered thing? And oftentimes, if I'm feeling an emotion in that moment, it actually can be a detriment to my moving forward. And so you need community of people to reflect back to you your real reality versus your perceived reality, because it's this intricate dance back and forth, right? For me, it's just this realization, oh wow, so I had so much, the T word, trauma, right, as a child. That's why when I was in my young 20s, I hated eating alone. That's why I was afraid of the dark when I was growing up, and I just thought, oh, you're just a wimp, and it wasn't that. And that's why for a lot of my self-growth during the panini, I call it the panini lockdown, because there's a lot of conflicting views about what really happened, right?
Yeah.
So when we say panini, everyone knows exactly what I mean. That's the irony. During that lockdown, I started to explore these concepts of the subconscious and the loops that it keeps us in. We all have a subconscious, and it keeps us in these loops of safety, even if it's to our detriment. And so we'll use tactics like fear, and I use tactics like self-doubt to keep us moving in the direction of growth. I found that reflected in my body, actually, Dr. Lynn, because as I've healed, I've automatically gone and found therapists, physical therapists, chiropractors, even orthopedic surgeons to help me find my true alignment. I didn't realize I had an SI joint completely out of alignment for 20 plus years, Dr. Lynn. And now that it's been in alignment, because some of it just needed something like a PRP shot where they shoot proteins from your blood into the joint, and then PT exercises, and then aligning with my true self and energetically. Whoa. Now when I sit, I really sit versus I float.
Yeah, because you freed that energy up in that area of your body that you were storing probably so much trauma in, that sometimes you can't always get to it. That's why it's layers. It comes up a little bit at a time. It's like surface layers will come up because that's what we can handle until we can get to the root of the deeper stuff that sometimes we're afraid to look at. Yeah. But if we realize, if we can really allow that pain to come up, if we can feel it, we can heal it. We just allow it, then all of a sudden it starts to let go, and you realize, oh, you didn't die from feeling it. And now it doesn't control you, and you just free up so much energy in your body, in your life, for more blessings to come in.
Oh, I love that. And so, Dr. Lynn, I want to start giving people some empowerment techniques, right? What would you recommend for any one of us who want to, even if we think we're on a self-healing journey, because sometimes we fool ourselves, right? I'm going to eat right and sleep enough. And that is just the first layer. What do you recommend we do to continue or delve deeper in the self-healing journey?
Yeah, I think one of the most powerful things you can do is journal. I'm a big component of putting pen to paper, because I think in fact, I've heard people say that it has been proven that you're actually initiating your creative side when you put pen to paper. Mm-hmm. So it's a place to start where you can just write down ideas. If you don't have ideas or brainstorming ideas about, I should say, even what you want your life to look like, but you can start with a gratitude list. 5 things. What are you grateful for? That you can breathe, that the sun came out. I mean, it doesn't have to be huge things, little things, because you start to reorient yourself to look for the blessings in your life instead of all the problems, because we're very problem oriented, right? We want to go fix ourselves. And that perpetuates it too. You're going to find more and more things you have to fix. Mm-hmm. And you get hung up. And when we get hung up on something like the outcome not coming out right, we perpetuate that too. So it's a very delicate dance. So I think if you start to write lists of appreciation or gratitude, you start to count your blessings. And you're going to notice, like, I started out with 5 things, and I mean, I had pages full. Oh, I love this little dog I saw today, or had this great conversation with a friend, or I had this idea. And then you can start, then you're going to have inspiration and, synchronicities happen, like where you can write down ideas that come to you, how you want your life to look like. You could ask yourself a question. Is my life the way I want it to be? And be honest. I think some people say they don't know what they want their life to look like. I just think they're afraid to state it because they're like, well, that's not realistic. That can't happen. But when you journal, don't judge that, because you're going to be amazed at writing down the ideas. And then if something's going to show up, podcast, a book, a person who's going to give you a little information to it. So that becomes the magical dance of life. That's the soul's journey, to follow your dream. And I'm going to tell you, that is the key to flowing the life force in your body fully. It's always flowing, right? But how can you get out of the way and allow it to do its thing? Follow your happiness, your inspiration, your passion. Because we always want to, like, a lot of times our society puts that on the back shelf. Oh, it's just a dream. Not important. You got to go pay the bills. But no, we got to reorient ourselves. Like, that's the work. The soul's journey is the happiness. It's there. Your inspiration and your happiness and your passion is there for a reason.
Oh, I love that. So here's the thing. We are saying also, you have to continue to pay your bills, folks. We're not advocating for you abandoning your family responsibilities. And at the same time, part of the being present that I talk a lot about with this audience is, if you journal, you're literally opening up a channel with your subconscious. Oftentimes there are journaling techniques where you can ask yourself a question in your dominant hand and then answer it in your non-dominant hand and get answers to questions no one else knows but you and your subconscious. And it opens up this dialogue. And I love it when you're telling people, Dr. Lynn, here today, start with a gratitude list. Some of my clients, they hate doing even that because it asks you to be present. And being present is sometimes really scary. So explain to us a little bit more about what you mean by life force, Dr. Lynn.
So at the basis of the chiropractic philosophy was that we did recognize that there is a higher wisdom running the body. Just because we can't, if we acknowledge everything that it does all day long, we couldn't consciously do it with our mind. So we called it innate intelligence or life force. And so when I would adjust someone, I would adjust the spine and let the body heal. Let the body do its thing without attachment to what the symptoms were. It wasn't that I was trying to fix something or treat something. It was just clear the stress from the spine, let the body, mind and body-mind connection do its thing. And, that's what the life force is. And I realized I would tell people, your life force is on 100%. Like, you're getting adjusted to clear the life force. Allow it to do its thing. But I would question, like, well, why would it not do its thing? It's always doing its thing. It's always perfect. It's always trying to get you back to health. But why are you stuck in a chronic symptom? And that's where we block it. That's where we're not allowing, right? And so and a lot of times we become so programmed to do these things that we're blocking our flow because we think it's normal. It's like that invisible web holding us back. And that's why I think the journaling is so powerful. It starts to make you a little more present, a little more aware. It's interesting. I've been journaling since I was like 11 years old. I just like to write about my life. Before, I used to write and complain. I would complain about my problems. I noticed that's what would be my predominant. But then when I started doing a gratitude journal separately, where I would start with just 5 things, and I noticed it was like a 3-year period where I noticed a huge shift where I'm like, well, why do I have 2 journals? Because this is how much it changed. Now, I'm not saying it changed overnight. Even my healing journey with my body, it was years before I even got out of pain. But I noticed after 3 years of consistently doing a gratitude journal, I realized, why don't I just journal about all the blessings in my day? I didn't need to complain anymore. But do you see how long, like, that was the shift? And that's why sometimes it's a process. Like, our society wants a quick fix, right? We're in it with a quick fix. We want results right away. But sometimes it's a process. It depends on how long you've been shut down into the negative. Obviously, I had a lot of negative. But so now I just I journal at night, and it's basically recapping how cool my day was. And I don't really give much thought to things that maybe didn't go right, because I'm like, it's all in divine order. I don't know if it didn't go right or not. Maybe I was stuck in traffic for a reason. You don't know. So it's a whole different perspective that you start to change for yourself, which is an empowerment perspective.
Oh, I love that. Again, for my audio audience, I just been nodding excitedly up and down to everything Dr. Lynn's been saying, just so you know. When you go to Dr. Lynn's website at creatingmydesiredlife.com, the first thing it says on that webpage, you guys, is my journey to grace. And I think that that completely encapsulates what you've been talking about this whole episode. Oftentimes, we have a difficult time giving ourselves grace. And I think that that really explains very well everything that you're talking about, because we don't acknowledge enough. And I'm going to ask you to do this right now, listeners. Just take a moment, tune into your five senses like I've done you often in my episodes, and just sit in the knowledge of what Dr. Lynn just said to you. Your life force is working 100% all the time, even now as you're listening to us talk or watching us in the video. You are actually empowered in your life. It's more being aware of what some of the keys you may not know or you've lost touch with, that you may have to go to someone like Dr. Lynn or myself just to reset the perspective so you can find that power from within. What are some ways that they can get in touch with you, Dr. Lynn?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, creatingmydesiredlife.com. There you can find my book, which is called My Journey to Grace. You can just email me a question. I'll get back to you. You can get on my mailing list and see some of the stuff that I put out.
Wonderful. And that's all available at your website, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, wonderful. So folks, you can go to the description of this episode and find that website, creatingmydesiredlife.com. And a reminder, go to danceandheal.com so you can get my free movement class plus myofascial release course. I like to say that that is in tandem with Dr. Lynn's work. I'm putting my fingers together and making a funny face for those of you listening to the audio because, you know, I'm being a little facetious. You're going to say?
No, I couldn't agree more. It is. It's all part of it.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We're going to have you come back, Dr. Lynn, because I feel like we had a pre-meeting audience and we had a list of other things. And I feel like we just barely touched on those. And we also, Dr. Lynn and I, we both homeschooled our kids. We could do a whole episode just about how to lead your children in the right direction. Like the parent. I wish they had given me the small print though, Dr. Lynn. You know, that small print about how, like, you know, like if you want to be a parent in any perspective, you know, just be prepared to cut out a piece of your heart and leave it out in the wilds and be like, I'm okay with that. Like, why did they never tell me, Dr. Lynn, right?
I know.
You know, and if you have a baby as a child, whether it's adopted or you give birth, you know, give up all privacy. Kind of like when you have a cat and they're scratching at the door. Just give it up. Like, don't, there's no such thing as privacy after you have a child. Like, no one told me that. Like, if I had known.
That's right. That's right. No, I would love to come back. We could talk about so many more different things. I would love it.
Yes, yes. Wonderful. Wonderful, Dr. Lynn. Thank you so much for coming. Audience, thank you for coming to our podcast episode. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to Dance to Heal with Jenny C. Cohen. Come back next time to hear stories of recovery through movement and learn more ways that you can move your body. To work with me and continue your journey, visit OutsideInRecovery.com. Are you ready to move?